Hello, 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 beautiful unicorns. How are you guys all doing today on this amazing Monday? And if it's not amazing, hopefully it will be soon enough for you. Let me adjust my board so the desk looks really nice, as if this desk is an actual wooden desk. Actually, no, I like to do my card readings on this raw wood. Okay. I am ready. How are you guys doing? So, Yana Kasperczak, your spiritual awakening core energy coach, and whose soul's purpose is to help you get your shit together. So that way you can actually start to break free from the mental prison that you find yourself in and live the life that you love and are excited to wake up to every single day. Not just sometimes, not just some days, or hoping that one day you will, but actually loving your life and being excited to wake up to your life every single day. Because you know good things and amazing things are coming their way, as they always, always, always do. It just takes a little bit of time, a little bit of patience, and a little bit of work to shift that mindset that imprisons you. Hey Debbie, how are you doing, beautiful? How was your weekend? Okay, I will be doing, as always, just one card, and let's see what it has for us. Ooh, water, cleansing. You know, interesting thing about water is that when it comes to the mindset, you know, breaking free from that mental prison, the goal for all of us is to be more like water, where no matter what is in the way, water finds its way. And water is life. It is in every part and in every cell of our body, in every part of nature. And even things that are not of nature anymore and have been made by humans, they still use water to create it. So creation needs water. Hey Rebecca, how are you doing, beautiful? How am I feeling? I'm feeling better. Actually, much better. Still a little bit under the weather, but hey, the weather is getting really cold today. And it has been yesterday, but luckily it wasn't so cold on Saturday when we went, water, let me find the water. When we went to the Canada's Wonderland for the Winterfest, went on some roller coaster rides, it was actually 12 degrees. We don't do things in Fahrenheit, we do it in degrees here. So I'm not sure what the conversion is like for you, but it was really nice and warm, where I didn't have to wear my winter hat or my winter gloves until about 8 p.m. when it started to get really cold, and I had a lot of food on my body where the body was starting to shut down and going into the food and focusing on the food. So now let's shift the focus to the water cleansing. You know, just even looking at the image itself, to me, this woman in the front, it looks like she is becoming part of water, that she is water. Like mirage in a way. And, okay. Let's see, Rebecca says it's high 70s during the day over here, in the 40s at night. If I remember correctly, I don't want to ask what state you live in or where, but if I remember correctly, you guys don't have snow where you are, so it doesn't get that cold, where the snow stays in the ground and you can make snowmen, or you can make the snow castles or fortresses. So some sunny heat state, and we are actually up where there's a lot of hills, and not necessarily mountains, but hills, and being a higher elevation and closer to the North Pole, if you will, you know, where Santa is, that it is getting cold here. It is getting quite cold here. hence, the sweaters inside the house and 2 pairs of socks that I have on right now to keep my feet nice and warm. And Rebecca says, I go to the mountains for snow, an hour away. That's not bad. I'd like to move somewhere where we can go visit the snow without the snow coming to visit us whenever it wants to. But then again, I grew up in these kind of seasonal conditions, as I'll call them, where I'm comfortable with it now, and I don't know if I would like the other way where there's not much snow. I like the winter. I have learned to actually love the winter and understand the power that the winter holds for us. And the word of the day is hibernation. Not necessarily hibernating where you go and you sleep and you don't do anything at all, but hibernation, going within and working on oneself, because that's what trees do when there is cold climates. Even the water freezes, where it will continue to move, especially in the river. The water will continue to move, but the top freezes and it needs to become still and calm, so that way it can become stronger, if you will. Because when it melts, there's going to be a lot more coming down. Okay, let's get into the reading. The spirit of water offers to heal emotions of pain and hurt you feel. Cleanse and refresh, connecting to sea. Dive into your heart and swim, now you're free. This magic is worked with harm to none, so mote it be. There, it is done. So if you want to swim and feel free, you gotta dive into your heart. And this is what I teach and preach, as some call it, and have done myself and continue to do myself, because this work is never ever done when you go into your heart and you uncover the things that you don't want to uncover, so that way you can become the person that you want to become. And you can't become that person without opening up your heart and opening up this suitcase that you have gathered over your lifetime. And back pain comes to mind. So some of you might be experiencing back pain or have felt back pain, especially lower back. And if we're using body in the way that we're meant to use it, where listening to your body and understanding what your body is saying and do what it's saying to do, is that back pain refers to you carrying a lot of baggage and like the weight of the world on you. Whereas that, in a way, is a program and a condition that you have had put in you when you were young, that you were responsible for the weight of the world, and in one way or another, putting, the good girl, the good Samaritan, going and helping everyone and doing everything for everyone and not doing anything for yourself. And this is where you will find yourself having back pain, because you are literally taking on things that are not yours, that do not belong to you, and you're carrying them as if they are yours, as if you are responsible for them, when you are not. Your job is to uncover what you're carrying and recognize that this is not for you, this is for someone else, and give it back, send it away, let go of it, so you can feel free, so you can feel safe, so you can breathe again, so your back releases itself. I once in a while catch myself or my back talking to me, where my back starts hurting. And this is the same thing I'm telling you guys, is what I do, what I recognize. What is mine, what is not mine. And the way that I like to do it is, I call it brain dumping. Take a piece of paper and just write things out. Or sometimes I'll just hop on the video for myself, and I just record everything that I'm going through, everything that I'm feeling and experiencing, just getting everything out of my brain, and then recognizing. That's why it's better on paper, because you can physically see. But then speaking, I work through it as I go through it, right? I literally coach myself and become my own coach. and then also do that same work with my coaches. But then by that time, a lot of the things that I have already worked through and unloaded, and then they help me to do the rest. And it's really just understanding what is in your mind and your heart, because those two are disconnected, and you gotta work through what are you feeling, what are you experiencing, write that shit down, get things out of your mind, all of the things that you feel like you have to do, everything that you're thinking, and also the feelings will be in your mind. You get that out, and you can physically see it in front of you. And then you get to decide what's yours and what's not yours, and what you can just ignore and move past because you don't need to be dealing with it. And some of the things you might need to delegate. If you are a mother and you have children, no matter the ages, there are some things that you will feel responsible for doing for them, but you are not responsible to do the homework for them. You're responsible to become a really amazing delegator and help them become that way as well, so they don't become the version of you that causes you to have the back pain. So they learn how to delegate in a nice, loving way, in a respectful way, and know what they're responsible for and what they're not responsible for. You're not responsible for how others feel. You're not responsible for how they feel, because how they feel is inside of them. And you're not a surgeon. You cannot go inside of them and surgically remove how they feel. That's why they're responsible for it. Yes, you might have played a role in how they feel, but you're not responsible for how they feel. You can help them to feel better by understanding your role and learning what you did and what perhaps you could do better next time, but you're not responsible for how they feel. Even though too many of us feel a major sense of responsibility for how others feel, especially as women, because we are by nature caregivers. And when somebody feels less than we assume they should, that we feel bad about it, and we add that to our baggage that causes us to have that backache or back pain. But if we just step back and reevaluate the situation of what they're going through and recognize that they're going through their own tests, just as you have how many times, and that by you trying to interfere, you can take things away from them that they will have to learn later. And later might be a more painful lesson. So allowing people to be and to grow through whatever they're growing through, and helping a little bit, but not much because you don't want to interfere, is how you will live the life that you want to live, and allow them to live the life that they want to live as well. Because life is a school. Life is school. There's school, and then there's life, which is the school of life. Let me pick up some comments, read some comments. Debbie says, I picked up some Florida Holy today. I'm curious to hear what Florida Holy is. Maybe I should pick some up when I go to Florida next year. And then Rebecca says, major back issues ever since Dark Night of the Soul. Yeah, there's a lot of things that you are probably carrying that is causing you those back issues, and the awakening of the Dark Night of the Soul, where you start to recognize and start to work on the things that are in those the baggage that you're carrying, and recognizing what's yours and what's not. And Rebecca says, I have to hop off for a short call. I'll be back soon. Oh, awesome. No worries. I'm sure you'll rewatch this part as well. Okay, so let's get deeper into the reading. So today, the water cleansing, I'll put it this way so you can see it. The element of water has surfaced to help you clean up your act. As I like to call it, help you to get your shit together. So you feel like you got it, and No one can throw stones into your glass house and the glass house will shatter. That when people throw stones at this glass house, you remember that this glass is shatterproof and is bulletproof and nothing can shatter, because even though it is glass, it is not the glass that is easily breakable. And for all of us to get there, we need to continue to, clean up our act, get our shit together. And the only time that we get to do that is when we don't feel great, when things come to the surface, when we are faced with our own shadows, and when we're faced with our own demons, and when we're faced with our selves and our traumas and the things that we have avoided dealing with. And now when they come up, each and every time, it is an opportunity to get our shit together, to own it. Each one is a lesson. And if it keeps coming back, that means there's more to learn. And unfortunately, we have been programmed to look at all these things as an inconvenience, that, feel crappy and I don't want to be doing that. And we start bashing ourselves, and we start bashing what we're going through. We start bashing our past, and not recognizing that each and every time that is an opportunity to overcome our old self and step into the new self that we want. That who you want to be and the things that you want to have in our life, the only way to get there is through all of those things that are coming up for you. Because they're coming up for you as an opportunity to earn your right or yourself for that next version of yourself. To prove to yourself, not to anyone else, but to yourself, that you got this, and that this glass house is shatterproof and bulletproof. Nothing can get through it. Some people refer to it as thick skin, or another way of looking at it is giving less fucks. That whatever it is that you're going through, you're growing through it, and each and every time that you're not feeling the greatest, it is an invitation for you to go deep within and go into your heart and in your head as well, and get that stuff out and recognize what's yours and what's not, so your back can listen itself. If you're feeling shoulder pains or neck pains as well, same concept, where you're carrying baggages on your shoulders, where there's maybe even people that are trying to take advantage of you, and they're literally sitting on your shoulders. So another peekaboo that you can take a look-see into yourself and into your life and into your body and how it's communicating with you. You have been affected by negative thoughts, doubts, and worries. Have you now? Interesting. I wonder why this card is here. Right? This is the conditioning of the world. This is the program that we all have received. Being affected, or another way to call it is being infected. Being taken over by the negative thoughts, doubts, worries, and fears. Allow cleansing to wash away any pollution that you are drowning in, and release the emotion that is draining your natural vitality and positive outlook. Now, how does one do that? I get this question all the time, and there are numerous ways of how you can do that. You can just do what makes you feel good. That's the best and the easiest way to explain it. Do something that is going to make you or allow you to feel happiness and allow you to feel joy. And in other ways, how the actual cleansing, how you can do is go for a walk with no phone, no social media. Leave that behind. Go for a walk, preferably in nature where there's not that many people, so other people's energies don't come into your aura and don't add to what you're already going through, because we all take on other people's energies, we all take on other people's feelings and emotions unconsciously, and then sometimes consciously as well. My favorite way has always been taking a shower, an actual literal cleansing, and taking a shower where turning it into a shower meditation, you can have the music in there. I would actually recommend having the music that you want, that helps you to feel healing. So the music, you want to put a candle in there so the smells nice. You can dim the light to turn the lights off. And if you have windows in your bathroom, you can open them or you can close them. You want to have a little bit of fresh air going in there. So if you don't have windows, then you can turn the fan on, so that way there's some airflow that is going through. And you want to stand under the shower and visualize that shower being a waterfall, and that it is pure white light. So you're bathing in the pure white light waterfall, and that is cleansing you and is literally washing away. You want to focus on your back as well, your backside, washing away all of the heaviness, all of the burdens of the world, all the burdens of people in your life, and all of your burdens as well. Unburden yourself. So that's one way that I have enjoyed the actual water cleansing. And as well as, I don't like taking cold showers. I would much rather hop in the ice bath. So hopping into an ice bath, if you're able to do that. Now with the winter where we are, and the snow being here and melting, walking in the snow barefooted is definitely another way how you can cleanse yourself with cold water. If you're able to jump into the lake or the river, it's going to be cold regardless. Good luck finding a warm one. Even summertime, you won't find a bath temperature water. I know there are parts of the world where you can, but for the most part, it's going to be cold. So that is definitely going to help you to cleanse. And it really does, the most important part of any kind of cleansing that you do is the intention behind it. What you're thinking and what you're saying and what you intend to experience in this cleansing, and then how you walk out of there as well. You want positivity to be the loudest voice, and perhaps even bringing in some positive affirmations of yourself in the I am statements. And if you are not, let's say you are having a really, really, really rough day and you cannot get control of yourself, that as you're doing this and you're saying the I am statements, say the I am statements that are the closest to the truth, because you're not in the state of mind to feel the truth. And what I mean by that is, if you are wanting and desiring and intend to feel happy and joyful, that you don't say I am happiness, I am joy, because it feels like a lie. Say it, I could be feeling happier, or I am starting to feel happier. Happiness is on its way. Happiness is coming, and it is almost here. I can almost sense it. I can almost smell it. So you want to have the dialogue with yourself, or with your inner self, and different parts of your inner self, the different voices that you have, because this is not the time where the inner coach is going to be coming in. This is where you'll have the voice of the gremlin coming into you and telling you all the things that you are not, because it's that powerful, and reminds me and each and every one of us who we're not. And it is an invitation and a call to remind ourselves who we are. Let me see. Rebecca, hey Rebecca, welcome back. Debbie says, I had a great shower like that last week. Sat on my stool for the longest one of my life. for the longest one of my life. So sometimes if you can sit in your shower and you can just take your time and allow the water to take everything that you don't need, trust. It's like giving it to the river without having to go to the river. You have the shower in your own house and you can visualize as this is the waterfall, and water is cleansing. Water is life. Allow that water to give your life back to you and unburden you what you no longer need, what is no longer serving you, and trust that it will do that for you, because that is what it does. That is what the water is there for. And then Debbie says, I used to cry in the shower when I was raising my kids. Yeah. That, I mean, the phrase of allow the tears to completely take over you and cleanse you. And after that, when you truly allow the tears to take you over, you naturally will be reminded of your true power, of who you are, and not who you're being right now. Because right now, the phrase is, oh, right now I'm being a big crybaby. But no, you're not being a big crybaby. Right now, you're healing. You're going through something. And tears is the river itself cleansing you and your body and your soul and your spirit and your heart. So that way you can be more present for your kids. Because raising kids, it is not easy. It is not easy. Whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 12, however many kids that you are raising, it is not easy. And on top of it, you're still trying to raise that inner child that is you, that is hurting, that has been neglected and avoided and unheard and unloved for how many years. So of course we're gonna find ourselves feeling less than we are when life gets challenging. And it's challenge, eventually we get to see how each thing that we're going through is an opportunity to do better and to be better. And Rebecca says, that's where I like to cry, in a shower. Yeah, and it's so cleansing. And I feel like for mothers especially, that is one thing that I have actually noticed. We don't want our kids to see us cry, and we go and we hide and we cry in the shower. And there's two parts to it. Part number one is that it's purifying, it's cleansing, and it is the self-love and self-care that you need. And in a shower, it is, you feel the cleansing, and this is where the tears come out. And allowing the tears to completely take you over is so powerful. But then reminding yourself and remembering that I got this. You know, I had my cry, I had my ugly cry, I had my powerful cry, I had my time, my self-care, self-love. Now I'm on top of the world. And then the other part to this is, why do we feel the need to hide from our families and not allow them to see who we truly are and what we're going through, and allowing them to see that life is hard, but it's not impossible, and that even though it's hard, this is how I work at it. This is how I get through life. This is what I do next. This is how I heal. This is how I cope. This is how I overcome. And you can too. Because if we hide these parts of ourselves from our kids, we're taking away knowledge from them that they will have to learn on their own, instead of us being the guide and the leader that we're meant to be. So why do we feel this need to hide and be a good girl? Because good girls don't cry. Good girls don't do that. Good girls are strong and they're powerful, and good girls get things done. But yet, all the things that are the most powerful are done in the hiding. Like the darkest parts of our soul, they're done when we are hiding from everyone and everything in our life. That when, like I said, it's really just taking lessons away from our kids. It really is. I think I only just read 2 sentences of this. Let's keep going. Water seeks out your sensitivity and asks you to tap into your feelings, for you often become overwhelmed when faced with challenging situations and others' demands. I feel like this is perfect for what I was talking about, the brain dumping and recognizing what's yours and what's not, and seeing situations as challenges and opportunities, and not in the way of this is happening to me, not seeing it as a burden. Right? When we shift our perspective, and it takes time to actually shift that perspective and start to see things as challenges and start to see things as opportunities versus trying to see them, it takes time. And the way to get there is to continuously refocus and continuously to tap into that program that is the default program of seeing things as they're happening to me versus they're happening for me, and continue to rewrite what is coming up within yourself. You can also do that physically, where you're physically writing and journaling, and not just in your mind, because when you're physically writing, it deepens the lesson, where you actually get to do it. It's a hack itself. It's a literal hack, where instead of you just being in your head and continuously to rewrite and rewrite and remind yourself, that when you are physically writing, it allows you to get there quicker without having to do too much work. Be aware of the difference between your emotions and those of others. Recognizing what's yours and what's not, and not holding on to others. Water can soothe, heal, and help you go with the flow. Water reminds you to bless this elixir of life before you bathe or drink of it, and to acknowledge your connection to the ebb and flow of the tides and the pull of the moon. I would also add, trying to think of what it would be called, is when you're infusing your water with good intention, with good thoughts, with positivity, with even who you want to become or who you're trying to become. It's almost like you are putting everything that you want into that water, and then you're drinking that. It makes me think of quantum jumping. The water has that power, where you want to feel a certain way, infuse that water with what you want. Energetically, you got to feel that as well. And Rebecca says intentions. Yeah, putting intentions into that water, and even your goals and your dreams you can put into that water, and you drink it. It is another hack. Rebecca says jumping timelines. In a way, yes, because when we're jumping timelines are really just in our minds. Our whole entire world, the world that we see, it is in our mind. And when we shift our mind, we jump timeline. We all of a sudden go, one day you are feeling like your whole entire existence is miserable and you basically surviving, to the next day you're thriving, and you almost like think or feel, I don't know how I got here. But how you got here is by doing these little things, these little actions for yourself, and showing up for yourself every single day in the ways that you have decided you wanted to. And you continue to do that. And then you will wake up one day being that person and almost feeling like you don't know how you got here, but you know exactly how you got here. Especially if you keep practicing self-reflection, you will know exactly how you get there. Water offers you to dive in and uncover your natural psychic abilities and to enhance prophetic dreams that you are ready to emerge. You know, the moment that it mentions dreams is that water offers you to dive in and uncover your natural psychic abilities. One of your natural psychic abilities is to know without knowing, is to understand your dreams. Because if you do remember your dream, it is not just a dream, it is a message to you. It is trying to tell you something. It is that part of you or part of the universe that is trying to communicate with you. Because the only way that they know how sometimes is through your dreams. So taking the time to try to remember your dreams will help you to actually remember your dreams, which means that it will help you to become more focused on receiving messages that you're meant to receive. And understanding messages is the actual practice where you are dream interpreting to help you understand what is it that you're actually dreaming about, and what are you supposed to be or meant to be getting from that message. And then not just, oh, this is great, but what are you going to be doing about this message? Because most messages that you get, they're not just for shits and giggles, they're for you to actually act upon. Because you're asking something of the universe and of yourself, and you get the messages, you get the answer, but then if you're not doing anything with the answer, then you might as well join the crowd that is whining and bitching, complaining about their life and not doing anything about that life. And I know none of you that are in this group are this way, that you are dedicated to your personal evolution and will do what you are ready to do to get closer to that version of yourself that is thriving and not surviving. And yeah, so pay attention to your dreams, which is foresight. You are empathetic. Doy, isn't that why you're in this group? Empath and empathetic. Not necessarily the same, but very similar. Your sensitivity is a gift. Protect it well. I would also add, own it. Too many women are stuck on, I am too sensitive, I am too much of a crybaby, or I'm too emotional. And those are the messages that you have been given by the people who feel uncomfortable with that part of themselves, and they're not able to recognize it for the gift that it is. First of all, we can never be too much of anything. So you are sensitive, you are empathetic, you are in tune, and that is a gift, that is a power, because you are connected with your emotions and you're starting to understand them, and you're connected with the emotions of others as well, and you're able to interpret that, and you're able to understand them and yourself. So it is a gift. And one of the reasons why it is a gift is that because you're so in tune with yourself and with your feelings and emotions, how else do you manifest? How else do you create the life that you want if it's not with the very gifts of feelings and emotions? You just need to fine-tune them to be the ones that you actually want, and clarify what you want, and practice and practice and practice. You are experiencing new psychic awarenesses. Vivid dreams are linked with emotions to be kept in check. Drink more water. Yeah, I gotta drink more water. I have my water, but I haven't even taken a sip, just coffee. And by the way, coffee dehydrates you. It is not water. If you drink coffee, that is not the same as drinking water. Drinking water is drinking water. And if you don't like drinking plain water, like I often don't, then adding a little bit of flavor to it. Now with flavors, natural flavors, lemon, a little bit of honey, and a little bit of Himalayan salt, and then now you have an electrolyte drink. There's a recipe for you. And don't drink Gatorade. Might as well be drinking diluted rat poison. That's what I hear from these or about these Gatorade drinks. There's a reason why they're mass produced, and people become almost addicted to those drinks. And anything that you catch yourself being addicted to, including caffeine, start questioning it. What's in it for the masses, or for the few, not necessarily for the masses? What are the masses getting from it or not getting from it? And what are the few earning from it? Question everything. That's the only way you're going to get the answers that you are actually wanting to get. And spend time by the sea, by the water, by the lake, by the river, in the bathtub, or even by the bathtub, filled with water, and drink more water, as it says. Stop trying to go against the natural flow. If you feel like you have to force it, then you're going against yourself. You're going against the flow, and most likely you're following the crowd. You're not going to find yourself in the crowd. You're not going to find yourself in the crowd. You're going to find yourself in the isolation. So, hibernation. Hibernation is isolation. And now I'm connecting the dots with the dream that I had last week, where I kept hearing hibernation, 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 where hibernation is isolation. And that's why I love the winter, where we are isolating ourselves from people or from the world, because it's so cold and there's so much snow that nobody really wants to go out there. And that's one of the reasons why I love the winter, where I don't have to go out there anywhere, that I can just enjoy myself and just become so peaceful and quiet, because everybody else is cocooned in their own house as well. So the last part is water revealed. Our bodies, as well as our planet, are made up largely of water. Our emotions are connected to the ebb and flow of the oceans and seas. By working with and acknowledging the element of water, we develop our intuition and flow naturally with life. From women's cycles to birth, blood and rain, the primordial waters deep mystery calls. Interesting. Chalice symbolizes water. So this is actually interesting. Women's cycles to birth, blood and rain, the primordial waters deep mystery calls. I will leave you to ponder on that, as I will ponder on this myself. This last part always leaves me pondering and really thinking and going within and understanding what this means to me, because it's almost like deciphering a dream. And often it might be connected to a certain part of what you're going through or what you're growing through, to help you understand your cycle. and yourself. And even though it talks about birth, I would also call it rebirth. Rebirth of yourself and rebirth of your inner self and your mind. The old mindset needs to die in order for the new mindset to be born. Okay, let me see the couple of comments that I see. Debbie says yes, and time alone. That's in the shower that we were talking about. And then Rebecca says, my buttons are mine to bear, not my children. They don't need to go through what I'm going through. It hurts to see your mom cry. I don't want to hurt them. There's a lot that could be uncovered and unveiled with that one, because they're not going to go through what you're going through. They're going to go through what they're going through, and you can potentially be a mirror and a guide for them. And just simply seeing your parent hurting, yes, of course it's going to upset them. When you see your kids hurting, of course it's going to upset you. When you see your friends hurting, of course you're going to be upset. But this is such a natural way of being that we, in a way, need to start to normalize. Not necessarily everything that we're going through the kids need to know. Certain things, yes, but without, especially if they're a part of that, without the blaming and the shaming, normalizing emotions, normalizing what we're going through without, how do I put it? There is a difference between sharing what we're going through and then doing something about it and not doing something about it. And then at the same time, not allowing that to be an everyday thing and an all the time thing, that when your kids are there and you're emotionally charged and something happens and you start crying, not to create a beaver's den and stop the river from flowing. Because when we do that, the rest starts to dry out, right? I almost like see, I guess, analogies and pictures and images to help everyone to understand what I'm feeling, is that this is what it almost starts to become, that we create these beaver dens and block the river here and block the river here and block the river here, that our children who are waiting for the river, for what the river provides, the life that this river provides, they will suffer the consequences later on in life, down the river, down the road, that what we are going through, we're growing through, and we get to learn so much. And if we allow our kids to be part of our growing process, that they will get to see us as a human being and not as a superhuman of this. Some of us have this image of our parents that never saw my mom cry, or very few times I saw her cry, or do something about her or not do something about it. We are creating unattainable superhero for our kids to become, and then what it causes for them later down the road is that they don't know how to deal, they don't know how to be, they don't know how to overcome. It's almost like we're hiding ourselves because we imagine that our kids are not going to be going through any of these things when they're adults, whereas the opposite is the truth, that they're going to be going through all of these things, and maybe even worse than we did. But by allowing them in and allowing them to understand what we're going through, how we're going through it, how we're growing through it, what we're learning from it, what we could do better, we are leading them into their future, and we're removing the beaver dam so the water flows without drowning them in it. So it is challenging for ourselves to go through something like that, and it's also challenging to, how do we allow our kids to also go through something like that as we're going through it, and understand and learn from it. But if we don't help them and guide them, somebody else will. Or even worse, nobody else will, and then they are all on their own. And you also said, and kids can't discern. No, they can't discern. They can't fully understand all of it. And this is where I'm not saying to bring them into everything that we're going and growing through, but the things that are perhaps relatable to them right now, without, because oftentimes there might be other people in our life, and maybe someone that they're close with as well. And this is where it can be challenging, because we don't want to taint the way that our children view those people in our life. But what it could do is actually, it opens up the door for them to come and talk to us, what they're going through, what they're growing through, to help them in overcoming it next time. Because we can't avoid life. We can't protect them from life as much as we try, as much as we want to. We gotta let them grow through it as we grow through what we're growing through. And then I think everything else I pretty much responded to. Yeah, and then Rebecca says, forcing being patient with my 1.5-year-old, constant messes and tantrums. Forcing being patient with my 1.5-year-old, constant messes and tantrums. That's a very challenging age and stage. And I'm reading what Debbie says, show our emotions without the details of the problem. Yeah, they don't need to know everything and anything. It's just showing what we're going through, and then how we're working through it, how we're overcoming it, sharing our tools and our knowledge and our wisdom. They don't need to know all the details. That's for us. That's our own lessons. We're just sharing ourselves in the little bite sizes, and then how do we work through it? How do we overcome it? And then connecting what Debbie said to what Rebecca said, with being patient with an infant who is going through her own thing and is also an emotional, because tantrums are emotions. And now, I'm not an expert when it comes to raising kids, but if we think, let's think of this 1.5-year-old as you at your age. When we are using the word tantrum, it is coming from feeling unheard, unloved, misunderstood, unseen, unsupported, and we throw our temper tantrums because we want to be seen, we want to be heard, we want to be acknowledged, we want to be validated, we want attention. Kids, we are all, like, who we are right now is that program that the child, the 1.5-year-old, is showing and expressing. So this is why it is such a challenging stage of the child, because they don't even know what they're going through, right? When we are crying, when we are upset, when we are in that shower, wailing and covered in tears in the shower, you know, our own sea and the ocean, because salty tears is going through us. We are no different than the toddler that is going through something, but they don't have the ability to understand what they're going through. And many adults don't actually know what they're going through, what they're growing through. So now this is where we as a guide, we as a mother, we as a leader, we as a helper can help to help them understand in the way that they can understand what they're going through, and help them to work through it on their own without the typical, don't do this, stop that, get over yourself, you have nothing to cry about, you don't even know what life is like, it's only gonna get worse. Like, none of this kind of stuff. No shaming, no blaming, no embarrassing, but just simply helping the child to feel like this is normal. Temper tantrums are completely normal. The mess around, it is completely normal. But what is also normal is to work through it, to understand, to go within. What are you feeling? What are you sensing? What need is not being met right now? And apply this to yourself as an adult, by the way, not just to your toddler. What do you need right now? And then give that to yourself, or allow your toddler to give that to themselves. You're not there to continue to be the caregiver for the rest of their life. Certain things, yes, let's say they want the cereal that's on the top shelf. Well, perhaps maybe this is not time for cereal, and help them understand why it's not, and help them to make better choices for them without saying no, 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 without controlling. Taking control out of an experience for your child and for yourself, because we all suffer when we feel like we're controlled. We don't feel good. And apply all of these things to yourself. Rebecca says, I think not explaining why makes them jump to assumptions and make up their own story. 100%. If we don't explain why, they will definitely jump to their own assumptions. So you can explain just a little bit of why without bringing anyone else in that does not need to be brought in, or if they are, then explain just enough so they understand. And regardless of what you explain, what you give them, they're still going to make their own interpretations. They're still going to make their own assumptions, because they need to make sense of it in the way that of who they are and how they make sense of things. They're going to create their own stories. So you just give them enough of the storyline so they can build their own story and the characters in their own mind to help them understand. And this is where you can guide them in helping them to create the story that you, not necessarily that you want them to, but that is the truth. And then Rebecca says, when something obvious is going on, yeah, especially when something obvious is going on, you do want to give them a little bit of narrative to help them understand and create their own story without vilifying anyone or anything more than it needs to. This is where you can simply just have a conversation and ask them to tell the story. Ask them, what did you experience? What do you think? What do you feel? Bring the story out of them. Help get them to be the storyteller so you can listen and hear how they're seeing things, how they're perceiving things, how they're understanding things. And then you can help them to edit the story where it needs to, from a place of love, and help them to understand what's in it for them and what's in it for you. And then I do talk to each kid individually, letting them know there is a conflict, but we are working through it. But I don't want to let it unfold right in their face. 100%. Now, I would also question, why talk separately with each kid? Why not talk together so everybody gets to share their story, their feelings, their emotions? It's like a meeting, like a gathering where, and makes me think of an elder in front of a fire. Let's hear everybody else. Let's hear everybody's story. Let's hear how you understand it, how you understand it, how you understand it, what you're feeling, what you're experiencing, and just having, they said they're each very different age, but they're also more than capable of learning from one another. You're the oldest one of them all, and you're talking to different ages and different stages, but coming together as a unit, as you're meant to be, as a family, and learning from one another. You actually get to do less work, and you feel like you work at it less when the there's a phrase where people live in a house and there's different different ages, different stages in the house, and you learn from everyone. I can't remember what it's called, but there are actually cultures that do this, where they make sure that, you know, when they have a kid, that their parents and their grandparents move in together and they help each other to grow and learn from everyone, because it's like a mastermind gathering where you get to learn from everyone in a different way, and you yourself get to learn. Each kid gets to learn from their siblings, and they also connect and bond. Now you have something to connect over and talk with one another together, and not have different messages, because the conversation you have with one is going to be different with another, and it can kind of change in a different way. Whereas you come together, you just have one, and you save so much more time that way as well, where you have more time for yourself, and you do this together as a unit, like a mastermind, like I said, and you learn from one another in ways that you wouldn't otherwise. Multi-generational living. Like in the tribes, this is what they do. They bring a topic of what has transpired in the community, and they work through it together as a solid unit, and they connect, they bond, they get to understand and learn, not just from each other, but about each other, who everyone is. Because also, if you're having, like, let's say having conversations with each child individually, you see them how they are with you, but when you come together, they show the different side of them that you would not see if it's just you and your 1.5, or your 6-year-old, or your 15-year-old, or the 21-year-old. You get to see them differently. And your other kids, you all get to see each other differently, and you get to hear different part of them that you wouldn't have heard otherwise, and you get to know who they are that much more, and them too. Everyone is meant to be part of this mastermind, including the perpetrator. Because they get to learn from that experience as well. I used to actually have conversations with my kids individually, and I haven't been, and I sometimes still do, depending on what each kid is going through, right? Because my daughter's going through her things, my son is going through his things, and some of the things that they're going through, I recognize, ooh, this will be a great conversation for all of us together as a unit, so we get to learn from it. So dinner is a great time for this as well. Dinner should not be around the TV. The devices and the TV should be off, where you get to sit down and talk. This is what dinner is actually meant to be, where everybody comes and gathers, the stomachs are full, nobody's hangry anymore, everybody's feeling great and feeling connected with the food and feeling love because they ate love from the food that was made with love, and then feel good. And then you have the conversation, right? You don't have a conversation on an empty stomach. So, and then Rebecca says, okay, true. Thanks, Yana. I appreciate the advice. Awesome. All this is advice. You guys, at the end of the day, you do what you feel is right for you to do, and whenever you are ready to do it. All I'm doing is just sharing my wisdom, my knowledge, the advice, what I have learned, what I have practiced. What works for me does not necessarily mean it's going to work for you, or maybe not yet. That time will come. This conversations with kids and as a family unit didn't happen overnight. It happened gradually, little by little. And we each are different individuals. We each live a different life, different lifestyle. Our kids are different. So figuring out what works for you, and then evolving as you each continue to evolve. And then Rebecca says, that's true. They are very serious when we are one-on-one. I guess it does intensify the conversation. Oh, yeah, actually, that's a great point. Intensifying the conversation, because now it's just you and me, and that's it. It's like, to me, it almost like feels there's no buffers. There's nobody else, and that if I say something wrong, there's nobody else to protect me and defend me in a way, right? And the same thing for yourself, right? Not just for the kids. That it's almost like you in the police station, and it's just you and the cop, and you being interrogated, and there's no lawyer present or no family member present to help you, right? That it's just you that's in trouble. So that's actually a great point, that it intensifies the conversation. I never thought of it in that way, but it is very, very true. Great words to add to the wisdoms of this conversation. And then Rebecca says, I've managed to gather my family for table meals a few times this month. How many more can you manage going forward? Could this potentially be an every evening thing where dinner's ready, everybody come, sit down and eat? Because I know in a lot of families, that's one thing that they struggle with, having meals together. Growing up, that's one of the things that I know my family wanted to do, but we seem to not have dinner time together very often. Whereas in our house, it's actually rare not to have dinner together. We have dinner together every single evening. We wait for everybody to be home. Dinner's ready. Come sit down. Devices are turned off, and we're just either chatting or just eating, and then we can go and sit and watch something. Because another way to look at food is that you become what you eat. So if you're watching something scary on TV, you're eating fear. Because whatever you are watching, whatever is around you, that is what you're eating. If you're stressed out and you're in your mind and you're all spinning out, that is what you're going to be eating more of. So when it comes to dinner time, intention is also important. It's not just for your showers. It's for when you eat each and every time. Okay, and then Rebecca says it's challenging because we have different schedules, but I can still have one meal, breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and whoever is home can participate. We all eat alone most of the time. Eating alone is, there's a tear eye. Yeah, it is sad to eat alone. It makes me think of those images that I've seen, like little videos, people eating over the sink just by themselves, because that's the only time or moment that they have to eat really quickly, or because there's nobody else around and they're just lonely. Just speaks of loneliness. Whereas if you eat together, here's how I put it. When we really, really want something, we will make it happen no matter what. So if this becomes a priority, where the priority is one meal a day, breakfast, brunch, lunch, or dinner where everybody sits down together and eats, then it will happen. Once we make it a priority, we will make that happen. It might mean waiting a little bit for everyone, making sure that everybody's home, that everybody's ready, and everybody knows, sometimes setting the specific time to say, this is when we were having dinner, and I want this to be, let's say, a family tradition where I want this for our family, and then I want this for your family as well, where we sit down and we have dinner every single evening, and everybody makes time for it no matter what. Right? Make sure that you're home for this time. And if anything, let's move it for half an hour later and make sure that that happens, right? We are all on different schedules as well, ish. But if, like I said, if we really want something, we will make it happen. And then Kimberly, hey Kimberly, she says, I always eat alone. I wish I could be there. Hey, you can actually even have Zoom calls with people and eat with other people while you're Zooming online. Seek out those other people. If you're not able to eat dinner with family, or let's say your family has moved away or moved out, and it's just you and your partner, either wait for them to eat, make it happen. When there's a will, there's a way. My favorite quote or phrase. That if you really want it, you'll make it happen. Or seek out other women who need that as well. Kimberly says, a Zoom food party. There you go. Zoom food party, dinner party, Zoom gatherings, call it whatever. And make it happen where there's other women, families, couples that you want to Zoom with and eat with and have a beautiful conversation with, a dinner conversation with. Why not? And then Rebecca says, that's me. I eat while cooking or cleaning up. How do you feel when you eat while cooking and cleaning up? And I ask that because I used to do the same, and it didn't feel good. It didn't even feel like the phrase self-care comes to mind. That when we eat, the ritual of eating is a form of self-care and self-love, and that when we are not giving ourselves that time and the space to care for ourselves with, having that intention of eating good and eating well and for ourselves, then, like you said, I feel uncared for, right? Perfect. Self-care is not being present. And instead of, so this is what I started doing, and I can only suggest or recommend, and you gotta figure out how and when and make that happen, right? If there's a will, there's a way. Whether you're cooking or cleaning, if you're hungry and you want to eat, take that meal, sit down at a table and eat it at the table where you are just focusing on the food, and you give yourself the 5-10 minutes that you deserve to have that meal, whether with yourself or with someone else. Give yourself that opportunity to be with yourself and not have to be doing while you're trying to be. Separate the two. Separate the have to and I get to, right? Have to clean? Yes, you do have to clean. You have to cook? Yes, you do have to cook. But you also need to eat, and you have to eat, and then you get to choose to eat, and eating with yourself, for yourself, as a self-care and self-love practice. Shifting the way that you see this ritual of eating for yourself. Give yourself the time that you deserve Rebecca says, let's have a Heal a Unicorn meal together. Maybe we can make that happen. I wouldn't promise dinner, because dinner, like I said, we do that with the family each and every evening. But we can do a lunch, right? Breakfast, that's my alone time. That's my self-care and self-love time, where I make my coffee, I have my breakfast, I get nice and comfortable in breakfast area. Like, I make a ritual out of the meal time, especially when I'm eating alone. Lunch is a little bit different, where I actually do sometimes end up eating lunch with other people. Like, for example, I'm going to be having a call soon with someone, and I'm going to be eating my lunch, because my lunchtime is around this time, 12:30 to 1 o'clock, and I'm going to be having my lunch then. Okay, so, and then Rebecca says, dinner and dancing. Yeah, that's you. You get to eat, and then you can even dance, whether yourself or with the family. A dance party afterwards. Anyway, speaking of lunch, now I am hungry, and I don't want to be hangry later. So I'm going to go and get my food and get on my next call. Hopefully this was a great reading for you guys. And if you enjoy this reading, then come and join my next week. I don't know which deck I will be doing, but even if it's this deck, it's always a different kind of a reading that you get. And invite your friends who would love to be part of this kind of conversation and this kind of a growth experience as well, to help them overcome the blocks within themselves. And thank you, Kimberly. Kimberly says, have a great day. You have a great day yourself, and all of you ladies, have an amazing day yourself. Thank you very much for being part of this video today, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of you, or most of you, at the Sacred Circle tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And if not, then I will see you next week on Monday for another card reading like this one. And until then, thank you very much, and we'll see you later. Bye. Enjoy your meals. Bye.